Hello and welcome. This is your GM in the Great Barrier, broadcasting from the center of your entertainment galaxy, and we are back with another session of Star Trek Adventures Aegis. So, when we last left off, we'd picked up with our um, crew after some months at warp. The Starship Aegis had arrived in had been getting very close to the Terra Nova colony, humanity's first extrasolar colony that had been lost to contact for a long time, but a few years prior, the NX-01 had made contact and rediscovered essentially a colony of humans that had long since lost their connection to the world, or to Earth, that is. Um, the colony has been steadily rebuilding, and the objective was to essentially the objective for the level's current stop was Aegis rather. The objective for the Aegis was to give them a very quick sort of resupply, an emergency delivery of sorts. On the way there, um, the Aegis had picked up a distress call, which seemed to entail an encounter with some Tandarans and a Vulcan, uh, one who we came to know as Saral. The Tandarans had insisted on trying to stop Saral because they wished to board, determine if he had any links to the Suliban, another alien species whom there's been some conflict with in the past. Um, the Aegis, however, was able to persuade the ship to cease its attacks. They eventually fled, and while the investigation presently has suggested nothing certain about Saral, everyone is being fairly careful about the situation. The Aegis went on from there, arrived at Nova Colony, where they found that they were completely out of touch. Furthermore, some sort of unusual radioactive activity in the atmosphere was preventing them from gaining any sort of insight as to the status of the colony or any signs of life support, anything of the sort, um, or rather life signs. An away team of Lieutenant Shira, Commander Romanov, Dr. Lambeth, and a few ensigns or like other crew personnel went down to the surface, uh, and they discovered that there were signs of life at the colony, but that there were considerably fewer people on the surface than should have been there. And indeed, when they disembarked, they found that there was, or they came under attack by the colony's inhabitants, or at least they were threatened with it. Uh, shortly before shortly before hostilities could begin, the colony's governor, one Robert Nichols, had come out of hiding and basically gave the hold fire signal and explained that something terrible was going on, that the Novans had essentially turned on the colonists and were waging some sort of warfare against them. Meanwhile, back in orbit, while the Aegis waited for word from the shuttle pod to come up, which would have required the shuttle getting back out of the atmosphere for them, um, there was a long-range sensor indication that suggested that there were more of the Tandaran ships that they'd encountered earlier, this time a large group of them moving to intercept. And that was where we left off, and we will rejoin the campaign in a very different place. But before we do that, I just want to double check. Does anybody have any questions or I would say concerns, but I'm sure that all of you are concerned about the circumstances. So, does anybody have any questions before we go in?
I got nothing.
All right. So, we will cut then to a brief little jaunt aboard a Sarajevo class transport vessel. These are some of the slower, I mean, they're reasonably fast, but they are meant for a sort of long haul passenger type affairs. They're very comfortable, sort of chevron or roughly delta shaped, a few more rounded curves. The design is meant, of course, for it's meant more for passenger hauling, and it's come in sometimes to military use, but it's actually predominantly an Earth civilian design of sorts. And this one fits that particular mold. It's tending towards quite comfortable, as you have found, Commander Patel. The interior is, I would say, within your quarters, it is more space than your cabin would usually provide, even if it's incrementally so. And the various sort of observation decks, and even I dare say they go from mess halls to a few areas that would verge on a proper restaurant. It's all quite uh, it's all meant to be quite more amenable to the weary traveler, be they human or of other species. And it is this particular transport that you're on that is not only well equipped to conduct that, um, but has provided you the unique and pleasurable company of an individual you've learned identify themselves as a trill. Um, it's a slightly awkward gentleman, I'd say a slight receding hairline, and a rumpled brown jacket over a blue shirt as he's looking through his food. This would have been Earth fare and undoubtedly something that you had picked out. So tell me, what do you think you would have? What meal would you have erred towards introducing to this new friend of yours?
I mean, I think Patel, I assume he knows a little bit of the background of the friend. He would have introduced something that would meet his dietary requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So probably something from my native land, some sort of like, yeah, I don't even know, some sort of just like pretty basic. Everybody likes it, like a I don't know, some kind of like a tofu like sog curry or something like that,
I
like a
gotcha.
spinach curry.
Yeah. Um, would you have let him risk something spicy, or would you have advised mild for this?
I think he would have advised mild, but he might have not teased. That's not the right word, but he might have hinted that if this person wanted to be a little bit more adventurous, they could up the spice level a little bit.
Oh dear. Well, well,
Kieran's enjoying his at a nice spicy level. So
yep, yep. Uh, your new Trill friend has no such interest in being that adventurous as he starts as he goes through his meal, and indeed the very the relatively mild bit gives him some pause, but he's enough to he pauses for a moment when first tasting it, but begins taking more tentative bites, and gradually over the course of the meal, he's going to start enjoying it a bit more. Oh well, that, this isn't bad. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. I interrupted you when I was looking through this. Oh, jeez, what were we saying about the plants?
if I remember right, you were telling me about your failed garden back on Trill that you had
Oh,
attempted to start growing, and I had asked you what sort of plants you were growing and what your care regimen was for them.
um, yeah, well, I tried to start with something sort of ambitious. It's we had a sort of there's a wide array of different flowers. I think if my they would be various sorts of like lilies and sort of other things. I tried to uh, I gave up on that pretty quickly actually, partly because I mean it failed spectacularly. So I was looking down and talking a bit more into his food. I thought to try and go something a little more practical, but I realized that the garden size wasn't quite large enough for fresh herbs. Um,
I think he senses that Tobin is about to start prattling,
yep, yep.
and he says, Tobin, just relax. You can tell me if you forgot to water the plants. That's a valid reason.
Look, how am I supposed to fit that into a day? I've got quite a bit of work. You know, the long hours spent on updating designs for phase coil inverters not is something quite non-trivial, and with the type of work that I'm doing, one day we trill ships and maybe others, if we ever decide to sell off the technology, we could start pushing warp 7 on a more steady basis. So sue me. I don't know.
Well, I mean, until then, have you considered like a cactus or something? That might be a little bit more your speed.
I'm He froze his brow. I'm unfamiliar. Is that some kind of moss or uh
It's a succulent. It grows without needing really any care at all.
oh
They're spiky and can be beautiful.
uh,
Tell you what, next time we see each other at the next conference, I'll try to bring you one. I've got some growing in the botany lab, back on the Aegis.
oh yeah, you're a spaceship. One of those. What did you say the class was? I
Daedalus class.
oh sounds kind of neat. I haven't heard much about Earthships before. There's a few mentions of the NX-01. You know what? We actually had some contacts out on Earth that tried to reach out to our engineering directorate when some contact came up, but it was I don't know. I've considered taking on a few civilian contracts elsewhere myself. I figure it couldn't hurt to do something else productive. He looks out the
What?
windows. Now, wait a minute. You were telling me it's kind of like it was a weird set of shapes, like spherical and like cones and all that, and you have like elongated nacelle styles, right?
Yep. The Aegis may not be beautiful, but yeah, just got a big ball attached to a couple of cylinders.
Yeah. Is it like that? He says, pointing out the window.
Kieran puts down his fork and spoon and looks out the window.
There is
And
a there's a Daedalus class vessel that has parked almost. Well, parking is a relative term. They seem to have come alongside the transport vessel that you are on, which you realize is no longer at warp now.
I didn't even feel the deck plate. You didn't feel us decelerating, Tobin? That seems unlike you.
Well, this curry's rather. It packs a bit of a punch here. As he says this, the PA system goes off. Lieutenant Commander Kiran Patel, please report to the nearest intercom. Lieutenant Commander Patel.
Patel just at Tobin and like he's a little bit surprised. He didn't expect somebody to send a ride for him or anything like that. Uh, as a pleasure as always, Tobin. If you'll excuse me, I think somebody's trying to give me a call.
Oh,
And judging by the looks of things, I might be leaving a bit earlier than planned.
I guess I've got lunch then. Oh.
Well, I mean, I've got your subspace frequency. You've got mine. Let's keep in touch, okay?
He gives a nod, and with that, you leave Tobin Dax to a curry that he still puzzles over. Um, a a short time later, after speaking with after speaking with a few after speaking with a few intercom, speak on the line of the intercom once or twice, and being told to gather your stuff very quickly. You are moved over to a nearby airlock where the ship that has come to rendezvous has locked on. When it opens up and you pass through, you see a gentleman in a crisp Starfleet uniform for captain's pips. You'd put him probably mid to late 30s, uh, quite pale, near the point of suspecting that he has logged enough star hours to have not seen the sun outside of a view screen or any star for that matter. And like with hair and of a very sort of dark, dirty blonde quality to it. Once again, suggesting not a lot of sun exposure. Um, he greets you here. Uh, Mr. Patel, good to have you on board.
Patel, he doesn't stand at attention, but he stands a little bit straighter and adjusts his duffel bag over his shoulder and says, Captain, I assume at this point, like I would know the name of the ship and the name of the captain and why they're picking me up, right?
They actually haven't told you just yet.
Ah, okay.
You were very quickly redirected.
Got it. Pleased to make your acquaintance, sir. If only I knew the name of the ship or why you were picking me up.
Well, fair enough. I did kind of rush them on this one. Captain Aldo Harold, he says, extending out a hand.
I shake it.
Yeah. Welcome aboard the Starship Level. I wish I could say it was under better circumstances, but hey, I can at least promise you that we aren't going to reassign you. Or those orders haven't come in yet. No, actually, rather, it's worse. He says, it's like, waves. He'll go over to an intercom. We're sealing the hatch now. Get us clear and take us to warp 4 as quickly as possible. Yeah. Well, I suppose I hasn't properly broken the news yet, but you are from the Aegis, correct?
Kieran interrupts and like his face goes pale and is like, "Oh God, please tell me it didn't blow up."
Oh no! It's not blown up just yet. It's not like under attack either. The captain like tries to assure you. I'm so sorry. Incomplete information. Sometimes I need to digest it. How about you come with me up to my ready room, and we spend these next several hours it's going to take us getting here, debriefing you, or rather briefing you, and getting you set so that you can get back to your ship. And hopefully no ships blow up by the time this day is over. Sound fair?
Patel is nervous by this entire situation and starts sweating a little bit. And he's, I'm sure. Let's do that, Captain. That's great.
All right. And so, as the level sets a course and moves on its way towards Terra Nova, we cut to a few hours earlier, back aboard the bridge of the Aegis. At which point, the ship has set to. I imagine that the captain has called action stations by this point.
Actually, it's already called.
Fair enough.
But yeah.
So, action stations have been called. The ship is on. The ship is on an alert status, and weapons, defensive systems are at the ready. Mr. Crichton calls out from the comm station. Commander, Captain, I'm sorry. There's still no word from the away team. I'm not able to break through the interference. However, Shuttle Pod Alpha is ready for Shuttle Pod Beta. Mr. Crichton is very, very flustered right now.
She'll just look to Crichton, and with a soft expression, "It's all right, Crichton. Take a deep breath.
Okay. The Mako team is loaded into Shuttle Pod Beta. They have secured extra supplies. And medical and Nurse Marple reports from medical that they've supplied some extra medical supplies as needed. We're ready for the supply drop as much as possible. Yes, that
Thank you.
sounds about right.
Thank you, Mr. Crichton. She'll look over to Conley. Conley, how close can you shave against the atmosphere?
Connolly decloaks. I mean, I can buzz in pretty close if we're going in for well, if we make it just like a sort of straight shot or like try to graze it, then I could put us maybe within a few hundred kilometers of the mesosphere. If we could try, it's risky, but we could try to sort of bounce essentially. We go in hot, then we cut engines, use maneuvering thrusters to angle us back up, and then fire it off right as we hit the mesosphere. And that should. It'd be a little rough, but it could give us a. It could allow us a quicker drop here.
As long as we can dip in and dip out. She nods. Approved. Go for it. Full impulse.
Oh dear. And Conley is going to activate the impulse throttle, taking you in. So I think this he will have a small role to do this. You know, they're still like we still have time conceivably to launch the shuttle, Captain. I don't mean to second guess or question or anything. Just I've never done this before in the show.
The less trails we make for the Tandarans to find, the more easy it is to mask it. If you're not confident in the bounce, then just get as close as possible.
Oh,
Just enough for Shuttle Alpha to let the gravity carry them.
oh, I'll give it a good bounce, Captain. And with that, he's going to roll a daring and con roll. I'm going to set the difficulty at this to 2. Since we're using impulse, the ship is going to expend 1 point of power, and it can also roll engines and con.
I'll also have Crichton hail ship-wide and tell everybody brace.
Okay. Oof. Connolly scores 4 successes there, so that's going to generate some additional momentum for you right at the start here. And let me just...
She'll say, Captain 2, or Station 2, Shuttle Alpha. Good luck.
The Crichton reports that the shuttle pod acknowledges and begins its initially unpowered descent, but as it gets deeper into the atmosphere, you know the plan will be for it to engage its engines and give it a safer landing near the colony.
Yeah. She'll look to Science. Science, are you ready?
The relief science officer takes a quick look over their stations. I'm attempting the countermeasures now. Sorry, it's a little unorthodox use of the deflector here, but I'm seeing what I can do.
Just nice, steady bursts, as if tapping a puddle, she says.
Yep. So with this, she looks over another sensor alert. I put the Tandarans at an estimated now just under an hour to breach, or till arrival in orbit.
Warp speed?
Aye, sir. Warp speed. And Conley.
No. She's asking.
Oh.
She's looking at the science department. What warp speed are they flying? Element?
Warp 3-5, sir.
Good. Hopefully they don't go too much faster. She looked at Connolly. Are we clear?
We're clear.
Engine warp speed max now.
All right, and he will he'll grab the warp throttle, canceling out impulse engines, and then jumping to warp with the Aegis. Crichton passes off a quick word. Yeah, I was able to send along a message, Captain. The nearest relay probe has sent a confirmation that it is received, and our message is going along to Starfleet Command now. Hopefully we should have word from them relatively soon. I will put a briefing through you as quickly as I can.
Let us know the second if Tandaran starts setting up a jamming field. She'll get up. I'll be in my ready room.
All right. Okay. Before we depart the Aegis, is there anything else that you would want to do here, Sharp, before we leave off?
Oh, right. Yeah, she'll like get up as if maybe actually I will be in sick bay, and I'll make my way to sick bay
Okay.
because there's got to be a good reason for the Tandarans to go after just a simple Vulcan.
It's plain and simple, Sarava.
All right. So now that the flurry of activity has wound down very slightly, although the ship remains at an alert status, you are relatively certain that the staff that you have can sort out the remaining objectives. You make your way down a few decks in order to reach the sick bay. With Dr. Lambeth away, Nurse Marple is currently overseeing activity on the sick bay, and sure enough,
Was I in sick bay at the end?
that is.
I thought it was like you have free reign of the ship unless the parts that you don't have free reign, and so just get out of 4 feet.
He has free reign, but there's a guard.
Yeah, no, obviously. I would be like in my shuttle trying to see what I can salvage. But you're welcome to come there as well.
Yep, no, I'm not looking for you at the moment. Look for the current lead doctor.
Fine, if you don't want to.
Well, oh dear. So, but moment for my brain to reset there. Would you prefer? We would move the scene then to a shuttle bay then.
No, he wants to talk with the doctor, I think.
I was going to talk about everybody very briefly. Do I find what I'm looking for in that?
Well, you could attempt. I think that this would be a proper request for a scene because I don't think that you'd put the query to. I don't think you'd put the query to anyone in medical yet.
No, not yet.
But that said, I think we will. If Mr. Saral has left the sick bay to go back to his shuttle, and presuming he has the permissions to do so, then Saral would at least not be present. So I will take that off. But yes, that being said, there's still medical staff active here. Nurse Marple is still overseeing everything that's going on here.
Who wants to play Miss Marple?
Me? Anything I can do for you, Captain?
Yes, Miss Marple. There is something that I was actually kind of mildly curious about due to the medical report that Dr. Lambeth gave me regarding our new guest.
Oh, that Saral fellow.
Yes. Perhaps you can help me go it over with for me?
Of course, Captain.
I'm not a medical expert, so I would like a few details cleared.
Okay, I'll do my best.
I will go over just random stuff that definitely I don't know about, and then say there is a second eyelid when it comes to Vulcans. Yes, now is also shown when it came to Mrs. Sorrel.
Marple will take a look at the medical records. Is there mention of that second eyelid thing?
Hmm. Just for the fun, for the risk of a complication, I'm going to say, give me a medicine and reason task with a
Can I
difficulty of 1.
assist? Can I assist to make sure we can get this done?
Well, if you assist it, it's only going to generate momentum. It's Marple that needs to
Okay.
succeed here.
Okay.
All right,
Can
fair
I use patient care as my focus?
Yeah,
Since-
sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, I think this counts as Marple being activated for the session.
Cool.
Yeah, which you can, I will let you pick how you wish to augment that. For those in the audience here that are wondering what I mean, everybody in this game has, of course, their own main characters. In this case, Panda, who is playing Colonel Sharp, Craig, who usually plays Lieutenant Shira and is presently inhabiting Nurse Marple. Nurse Marple is one of our supporting characters, basically a character that starts out with slightly less material, or it's not as completely built as a full main character, but over time they can be built up as they are called upon by the narrative. Once per adventure, we allow for an activation, quote unquote, which allows for the addition of a point to an attribute, a point to a discipline, and also gives either a single focus, which allows for an expanded critical success range, a talent, which gives characters special abilities essentially, or a value, which is a sort of fundamental belief that a character has that, when called upon, allows them to tap into points of determination, which are very useful for a wide number of tasks or situations that a player might encounter. So Craig has the option to do that with Nurse Marple in this particular situation. I won't rush you to decide on that now, but I don't believe you've put a point in either attributes or disciplines, so if you wish to do that, then that would be an option. Otherwise, you can figure out something for the others.
Yeah. I'll think it through.
Yeah.
Now I'll take a. If everyone's okay, I'll spend a momentum for an additional dice
Mm-hmm.
and roll.
3
3.
successes. So that'll get you back the momentum. I'll actually just deal out 2. You go over the information from Dr. Lambert's scans. It was quite thorough, and sure enough, yeah, there was an eye exam, and as you would expect with a typical Vulcan, he showed signs of an active secondary eyelid, which makes sense given the fact that Vulcans were raised on a very bright world, or like the sun is intense enough that Vulcans had evolved with that second eyelid.
So as you can see here, Captain, it does show signs that the secondary eyelid is most definitely working.
It
But was he complaining about something wrong with his eyelids?
No, it's simply due to Suliban agents and whatnot. Not everything was perfect. It's a fully functional secondary eyelid.
According to these scans.
Oh dear. According to these scans, Saral
you
is
could-
fully functional.
Perhaps you could, if you wanted some further tests, we could try to run them, though I can't think of a reason why. He seems reasonably healthy to me.
She just looks perplexed a little bit. I see.
Well, there's no signs of him being a Sulapond.
Is there any oddities regarding his examination? The Dr. Lambeth made a rather indecisive answer the last time I asked him. So, what sort of things among this report would you find curious?
Okay. What kind of things? Is there anything strange in this report?
Let me take a look here very quickly. Moreover,
We got momentum, so we can ask questions.
yeah, I would allow you. You've already you've already conducted a successful task. So if you want to just spend a point of momentum to ask questions, then you could do that.
Up to you.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Okay. So you give the results that Dr. Lambeth had pulled up a look. It is actually it is very strange. Not insofar as Sorrel is concerned. After the considerable time you take to examine the results, you find that everything here seems to be in order. He seems to be a perfectly healthy Vulcan male, albeit with a few burns, a few like signs of injuries that would probably come from shipboard maintenance when one isn't always properly equipped or doesn't have the luxury of a dry dock for everything. It would make sense if he's got a small ship like that and he doesn't get out much. However, what doesn't make sense is more the fact that Dr. Lambeth would have suspected anything as being out of the ordinary here. One would expect a medical professional with his level of competency to have, particularly when it comes to understanding of like what genetic manipulation might look like. This seems like it would be. You have a close enough idea that this seems like everything should be in order, and if there's something awry with this, then you can't quite pick it out.
I'm not sure why the doctor would have prevaricated. Looking at this report, he seems our Vulcan visitor seems in perfectly fine health, and I don't see anything wrong with him. I think if you're looking for answers about our guests, it's to be found in the Shuttle Bay and not here.
Thank you, Miss Marple. You've been a terrific help.
See you again soon, Captain. Well, not soon. I don't want you in here.
She'll just give a wave as she just walks out. And I'm beelining straight for the fucking Shuttle Bay.
You arrive in the Shuttle Bay where you find it is things feel quite empty right now. The bay would in normal times, it would carry 2 shuttle pods in order to 2 shuttle pods would be stored here with the possibility of holding up to 4 if conditions warranted it. Granted, it would not be easy for them to maneuver out. While both of your shuttle pods are presently away, there is a small, relatively speaking, Vulcan craft. Slightly larger, I would think, than one of your shuttle pods. Maybe about 1.5 times the size. So something that would be comfortable enough. It'd be relatively more comfortable, but there's not a lot more space to work with. And it is parked. Sorrel, would you have left the hatch open for this in order to allow atmosphere from the outside to vent in since you've returned, or?
Oh yeah, the hatch is open, and there is like a small pile of mechanical and electronic equipment, like just outside the hatch. And as you just enter the shuttle bay, there just flies another part out of the ship.
She will approach. Seems like you have a work cut out for you.
Well, it's time I did some cleaning anyway. Things start to pile up. Just grabs one that looks like a heavily modified tricorder-ish device. Like, yeah, I think that's also just didn't work anyway. Just like throws it out.
Well, I hope I didn't bother you at the current moment. If you can answer a few of my questions.
No, please. Have you figured out yet if I'm a Suliban?
Seems you're 100% Vulcan, which good on both accounts. She gives a
I'm
small
sure
smile.
my mother will be pleased.
I'm sure she would. I do have a bit of a problem, though. Something that's, well, also yours, I imagine. There is an entire squadron of Tandaran cruisers heading in our direction, and I'm wondering, why are you so interesting to Tandarans? That they're risking war for this.
Kind of leans against the pretty much open shelf. Just looks thoughtfully in the air. I don't know. I know they have recently increased their activity against the Suliban or the Cabal or whoever they're hunting these days. I don't think I have actively had any negative contact with them.
I had a burp there. Excuse me. She says, Mrs. Saral, the Tandaran Commonwealth Empire. What is it?
They go by Empire.
Yeah,
The exact word for it probably just translates to that, but they have their slightly different conception.
The Tandaran Empire and the Cabal's territory are light years coreward, far from Earth and any part of the sector. Why would they even bother coming this far rimward and chasing you, of all people? I'd like to help you, Mrs. Saral, and I would like to know what exactly is on my doorstep. And certainly some misunderstandings could have happened, and I'm open to those suggestions, but I'd like you to be honest.
I am honest, Captain, and I would like to give you an answer, but I don't have one. I don't really mind people engaging in curiosity with me and what I do, but I categorically refuse to submit to semi-hostile threats of boarding, which I've made very clear at the time, and rudely they started shooting.
What do you do, Mrs. Saral? You didn't quite answer that the last time we discussed.
Well, I research, I build, I experiment.
Research what exactly?
Everything that seems research worthy.
And
there's like, if you look around, there is like all the shit is like in the shuttle. There is like medical instruments. There is definitely something that's from some engines. It's science and engineering gone havoc.
Felix, if I swear to God, if you brought a Neelix in here,
I can't cook.
Good. I don't want
just protein bars for me.
Even a plumic broth is a little bit outside of his skill
Yes.
set.
No, look, Captain. Look, Captain. Okay, how do I shorten a significant theological debate? When will the ship be here? The ships be here?
Hopefully they won't. It's a running match at the current moment.
So we have some time. Excellent.
With luck.
See, I don't subscribe to the dogmatic adherence to logic of my brothers and sisters. I believe in logic as a tool, scientific and engineering endeavors. But the rigid adherence to logic is a hindrance. So we...
If I'm familiar with Vulcans, that is a very dangerous approach for your psychology.
Yes.
In general.
They disagreed, and you kind of hear like this is like an entire live episode summarized in one word.
Sure.
They disagreed. I left, and here I am, and I'm have to say freedom agrees with me, and I vastly enjoy my freedom, and I research what strikes my fancy, and I build what I need or what I think I could need. I collaborate with like-minded individuals. If you want to ask what I've learned, it is my specialty at the Vulcan Science Academy was advanced AI interfaces. But that's just one of many interests that have driven me since then.
If I looked you up on the Vulcan database, I would find you then.
Yes. Even though I would not venture to hazard a guess at what addendums would have made under my file at this point.
She'll just nod. Given the intense situation that is cropped up, and I'm willing to defend you against this lurching antagonism, you don't mind if I look through your navigational computer, do you?
Not particularly. You're also happy to listen to the recording of the transmission with the Tandarans.
Certainly, I'll consider it.
I mean, so I think at this point I have to ask. The captain is now standing inside the shuttle for like a good amount of time. How good are you picking up on things that people shouldn't have?
That's a good question, GM.
How versed are you in the illegality of substances?
I'm a pirate hunter, so...
fantastic. Excellent starting point for this.
I guess, for starters, give me an insight and security, and I'm not going to tell you how high the difficulty goes.
It's honestly showing a bit of cards here, but it isn't even that high, I think.
Insight and security... it's a 2 dice. Diplomacy. Freaking, I know what's illegal.
I could see an argument for that, but I don't think it quite works. This is a different
I'm gonna
protocol.
I'm gonna burn a token a momentum if you guys don't mind. No focus there. All right. Gambling? No. All right. So 3 dice. Let's go. 3 successes.
I would say that's enough.
That's enough, definitely, for the obvious things.
I mean, You say obvious. I feel like you're digging my grave here. You're standing there and you notice a couple of things that are definitely like on the should be in capable and probably controlled hands, just like randomly strewn about in boxes or on shelves, on smaller stuff. And there is also very likely also some things that are definitely illegal, not in smuggle quantities, but this seemed interesting at the time, and I wanted to do something with it. Probably didn't work, but I have leftovers.
There is the at least intermittent recognition, Colonel, of some Rigelian flame gems, which are illegal in several sectors.
She will, because she's a fucking cop. She'll just
There's probably drugs.
yeah, she'll just like take a step in and just tap a deck plane that would make the flame gems, just jumble a little bit and fall down. What? Oh, what is this? She says.
So then they're not really hidden or anything. That's my main point.
Yeah. She'll just say,
careful, they're quite toxic if they break.
I'm well aware, Mrs. Sorrel.
Good.
She like gently picks them up. Rigelian flame gems. You're quite the purveyor, and these are Kazinti hunter teeth. She says, like grabbing them from the.
Well, I thought I could increase the computing capacity of the shuttle by 17.85% if I used the gems. Unfortunately, I couldn't make them work with the Vulcan circuits.
And I'm pretty sure these are illegal for Andoria. She like says, "We're grabbing something else."
Oh yeah, probably.
Do you have?
I mean, that stuff is not so bad for. You should probably be very careful with that. For Vulcans, it's like. What was he telling me when he sold me this? Mind expanding. Didn't really.
She
work.
just gives you like that captain glower of like, really.
You do know that Vulcans have latent psychic abilities, right?
Yeah, no. But just that sort of like, I know what you are now. I will tell you this, Mrs. Sorrel. This is the first time in quite a while that I've seen first time ever that I've seen a Vulcan pirate.
Whoa! It must very careful with the paintbrush you're wielding there. I have never pirated anyone.
If you don't mind stepping out, Mrs. Sorrel.
Sure. I've acquired all of this illegally.
I'm sure. You step out.
Yeah. You also notice I don't think there's like rudimentary weaponry, like just like a random phaser pistol or something, but nothing.
Yeah.
In the shuttle, not even on him. It's just like.
Yeah. She has you easily notice that she just has her hand just casually at her hip, not like grabbing her gun or anything like that, but just that within reach. And she'll say, Corporal Handling, if you don't mind taking our new guest to his new room.
Oh, did we assign quarters? I'm so sorry. I didn't get word about that. Well,
The one we give to certain more extra lawful guests, Corporal. The brig.
Oh, I'm so sorry there. Mr. Sorrel, if you'll come with me, sir.
You do what you have to do.
Henley had been He'd been a nice conversation partner after a little while.
After I've broken him down.
Yep. One mind meld later, and he's quite amenable. Oh.
One of us.
Oh.
Anyway, she will signal for further security and then signal for engineering to come up here and see what exactly we have in the shuttle.
Do you take a look at the logs? Because
Yes.
you wanted to have like,
Yes,
I mean,
do. I'll take time to look at the logs.
I don't think that he had like taken extra navigational notes, but the navigational computer has like everything recorded from like I have no idea from how long back. What you also will definitely find, because it's not hidden at all. It's like extensive notes on research and experiments that are ongoing, failed, or like envisioned. That's like the 3 categories.
Mm-hmm.
And there is just like literally try to integrate the flame crystals into the Vulcan energy systems. The discharge cost me like 25% skin on my left hand. Took 2 months to heal properly. It's like this kind of thing. There is
You're a random dude that just loves messing with things, whether illegal or extra legal. Yeah.
Yeah. Colonel, you notice one of those alludes to an experiment with that includes slight chemosite injections into the antimatter supply, or during matter-antimatter reactions to attempt to boost power output. That sticks out to you for some reason. Give me a control and reason roll, please.
Yep.
Difficulty 2.
Control and what? Science?
Oh,
control
right.
reason.
I gave you 2 attributes. I am a fool. Let's call this science then. Yes.
All right. Space navigation, because I'm a voidborn, or was a voidborn, and if you don't mind, I'll take one more momentum, guys. I'll leave the 2 for the other group. And 3 successes.
Okay. Well, you remember one reason that in the past year or so that Starfleet has been really Starfleet and the Makos have been very concerned about controlling Chemosite. It was a major component for the energy source that was used in the Xindi weapon. Weapons, plural.
Right.
The readout in the notes shows that he has an extremely small, nay negligible quantity.
Yes, and there's like extensive notes and diagrams of how the injection for the warp core is supposed to work, but it's clearly not yet materialized.
Yep. It is. The readings also suggest that that it is a highly refined, probably about near weapons grade strength if one were to use it.
Oh, Christ. She says under her breath. Okay.
And you also see one additional note to file away for later.
All right.
But yeah.
I'm looking up I want to rip those star logs from this thing too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Yep. So as you continue to ponder the situation with your newest guest, and Saral, did you have anything else you wanted to say there before we cut away?
Just like there's nothing is like encrypted really or anything, but everyone trying to like dig deep into systems or anything will have an absolute nightmare because everything is fiddled with and modified, and like weird idiosyncratic shortcuts been taken, and it's like you don't know if you're an engineer, you don't know if it's a nightmare or a miracle. It's somewhere in between.
Speaking of the ship's engineer, let us cut away back to Terra Nova, where the away team has been having set down a short while ago, has joined leaders from the colony back in like in sort of a main meeting building outside the like very close to where they landed. So it's at this point, I'd say it's probably been in the neighborhood of 45 minutes to an hour since you've sat down. Um, the uh, the colonists seem a bit jumpy. They're all armed with particle weapons of varying types. Some are older EM-44 style weapons. Others are there are a handful of more updated Mako gear, including what the Major is using. He seems to be the only Mako out of the contingent on this colony that you've spotted so far. And Shira, you would at least recall from the specifications that there should be a team of maybe 4 or 5 Makos on the planet. Um, but yeah, in essence, they have let you inside they've let you inside of a meeting hall. It is a similar sort of prefab structure to everything else here in the colony. Obviously, the components here were composed of an old colony ship, or rather, a colony ship that had been sent by Earth and broken down into modular building elements and was used to scatter around. There's some indigenous construction here, but the hall that you have entered seems to be a close approximation of a briefing room, albeit with some with furniture and whatnot replaced with either a few civilian analogs of things or even a few indigenously produced elements here. So you might have some wooden chairs with a sort of cushioning as opposed to the standard ship type. But yeah, the 3 of you are ushered, or rather the 5 of you, because there's a pilot and ensign steward that are brought in, and you are all shown to your places alongside Governor Nichols and Major Cole. There's a woman that steps in with a something of a very short, maybe not quite pixie style haircut. More of a faux hawk, I would think. And fairly simple wear. She's going over a data pad, which as she walks into the room, she sets that aside down by a table and takes a seat across from you. As you all come in, Governor Nichols says, this is Dr. Vanessa Keene, Chief Scientific Chief Scientific Advisor for the colony. She's been helping to help us identify some elements of more planetary sciences as she jumps in. I've been attempting to work with the colony in order to establish a more sustainable site. Obviously, the best location that had previously been identified were some of the northern settlements, but after the asteroid that hit some 70 years ago, it was that's kind of out for now, so we're working with a few different sites. This was one of the backup locations, essentially. I see we have guests here. Oh yes, I'm sorry, I don't believe I caught all of your names, Nichols says. Who are you again?
I'm Lieutenant Eula Shearer. This is Lieutenant Commander Aleska Romanov. This is Dr. Lambeth. This is Ensign Stewart. And I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, pilot.
It's okay, LT. I don't know that the GM's come up with my name yet. Or perhaps will it be a supporting character? What does the audience say? Or at least what does the player group say?
I already have a supporting character. Somebody else do it.
Yep.
I'm already in the scene.
Yeah. Drone, Felix, if either of you would like, then you could have a supporting character that is a pilot. I will leave that to your
Not
judgment.
again.
Sure.
Not
Yeah.
again.
Why not?
Okay, fair enough. I will stealthily make something here. What name would come to your mind for this gentleman?
Frantically googling name generator.
Yes.
Give me, let's see.
I'll give you a few minutes whilst Major Cole cuts in here. Look, introductions aren't really all that vital here right now, Governor, with all respect. And if Starfleet's here, then that means that we might have resources to actually take on these Novans once and for all and stop the attacks on the colony. Think that that should be our objective right now. Governor Nichols looks to you and says, this is a difficult and rather sensitive topic for us all, or it's very touchy here.
What's going on? Because it seems like we're just putting around the subject at hand. And I like not be shot or stabbed or whatever's going on here. So, excuse me, Lieutenant Commander LT. She says, just sort of backs up a little bit.
So the governor sits back and he gestures for each of you to take seats if you wish. It's all started actually within the past couple weeks. There's been some inexplicable breakdown in our relations with the Novans. They just near as we can tell, one day they just collectively seem to have lost their minds and started attacking people in the colony. We've lost considerable numbers, mostly people that had ventured away from the settlement, but there were some direct moves against us. They got into some of our weapons stockpile as well. Honestly, I don't know how much more there is really to that. It's...
Governor, I'd like to ask you a question. Nothing like this has happened before, right?
No, we've only been here since November, and the Novans, they were very peaceful.
Did you have diplomatic relations with them since November?
Well, they're Earth citizens. They, even if they've been away for as long, they...
No. What I mean is, did you have somebody within their community who communicated with you, who said, yes, we want to peacefully interact with you?
I mean, there was a small Starfleet cultural mission here, mostly anthropologists. I think one sort of initial contact person from United Earth that was working to do something. That person went back when I came here. But even that initial work suggested that they were perfectly willing to negotiate with us or live alongside. They were willing, in spite of the prolonged time that they've been away from Earth, they were willing to be friends, to live with humans again, to reassert their own humanity.
Well, that looks good. And yet, in a very short period of time, they've suddenly flipped and become aggressive. I believe that indicates that something happened to them, something you're unaware of.
Well,
I'll look over at our science officer. Don't worry about the conflict until it breaks out. What I need
Well-
you to do is stay frosty, Gwen. And I think you might be the person to look into the possibility that they were affected by something or someone.
Well, what I remember of the initial studies, it's a proto-Neolithic social structure amongst this culture. Probably could have developed more religious aspects, and it did to some extent about their ancestors. But I don't recall them having any sort of sacred land or fetishizing their ancestors yet to really result into some sort of fervor. She says, looking over. Oh,
Old Earth history tells us that such things usually the individuals step forward, tell the occupiers that you should not be on this land, but they never gave any such thing.
well, and if anything, they had many reasons not to refuse such an offer, given the fact that they were dying in the northern continent. So it doesn't make sense from them
doesn't make
personally.
sense.
She says, and I'm a xenoanthropologist, so
Excellent.
I've studied cultures for a while. I'm
Arkham's
certainly open
razor.
to them.
Arkham's razor. The simplest solution is usually the correct one. I think something either happened to them or it's possible somebody influenced them. Do you believe we have the scanning capacity to try to identify if that's the case?
I'm not a medical professional, if that's what you're asking.
No, I'm
But-
asking you as a science professional if you believe that a passover with our shuttle, we could get scans on them and potentially look for what might be affecting them.
I would need to understand their broad answer, possibly if it is very much in abundance to saturate whatever location. But in all likelihood, I would have to look at their dietary and their the dietary, any other localization of fauna or flora or fauna, parasitical, or even by just communicating with the natives in general, to get a better idea of what exactly is agitating them. There could be a whole number of reasons. It would be like
if you're talking about flora, fauna, parasites, sounds like something our good doctor could help with.
Yes, definitely. I think there might be something that has happened here. I wouldn't limit my realm of possible answers. She uses a Vulcan word, and to just flora fauna. We know that this area may be the epicenter of a potential conflict with forces
there could be
outside.
there could be a number of reasons even beyond just you were initially asking dude from outside source, and the answer is possibly, but it could also be from a cultural developmental period in which they have some sort of mentality or had developed a mentality towards a more aggressive stance, especially when it comes to humans. She looks around like everybody except for Lieutenant Shira is human, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, we know certainly for humans that we've had a very nasty habit of being expansionists and imperialists. So it might not, especially given their age and within late adolescence, that it wouldn't be outside of it to want to desire a more firm hand in their own choices in life. But
True. Definitely.
ultimately, we just don't know. I need to understand the situation a bit better instead of just giving you a simple answer. There is no.
Oh
simple
no, I
answer.
wasn't looking for a simple answer at all. I was just outlining a possible realm or direction of inquiry. That's what I was throwing out there. I do
It could
have
be a
one other.
number of things, and with the doctor's help, I can narrow it down a little bit.
Great. Governor, how frequent are the attacks?
There's no particular order or pacing to them, although I can at least say at the start they were nearly daily, mostly focused around the nighttime. We think that we've dealt them some blows lately, so they've been less frequent, but they have been able to ambush us if we ever left the confines of the main colony. And we do require going out for some supplies. This is honestly more Mr. Cole's domain, to which he cuts in.
Fair enough.
We don't know exactly how many of the Novans are out. Fortunately, it seems that they collect their dead and wounded, so I couldn't tell you how much of a toll we've dealt them. It's enough to slow them down, but not enough to defeat them outright.
I have a question. So they collect their bodies, so you have no Terra Novan body, correct?
We haven't got anything from them.
What sort of weapons or attacks do they make? Do they through slings, spears, create their own firearms? Would that be extreme? She says,
They've got some of our particle weapons. They were a part of this colony. Unfortunately, they've been able to turn some of our own against us alongside whatever else they could fashion. The traps are definitely an older technique, but effective.
have they been making formations or any sort of complex militarization?
I'd characterize it more as a type of guerrilla war strategy, he said. The Novans generally have been using, they attack from cover, they prefer ambushes, either near some of the cave systems in the nearby forests. They're less likely to operate on open terrain, at least in daylight, but without that, with our necessities, they can still deal quite a bit of damage. He says, leaning his head on one arm, which he props against the table.
Have you seen any notification of clan structure or any sort of separation, decentralization of their social structure? Or are they all coming in united and seemingly unified?
It
could be just one tribe as opposed to many.
The governor cuts in. I appreciate what you're trying to do here, but I'm afraid it seems as though it's all of them. All the Novans have been, they're so afflicted. Whatever this means for them, it's not been a one-off incident, nor has it been any different groups we observed. Indeed, they seem to be more or less, they seem more or less to be a single community with some difference in families or anything of the sort, but it feels almost like yesterday that they were just our neighbors.
It sounds like we could use taking one of them prisoner.
Absolutely. I really like that idea.
Allow Dr. Lambeth and Ensign Stewart to do some scans and see if there's anything biological at work here which has driven them to this. And if you can rule out that, then you know it's they're being influenced by an outside force which ain't
Is there
to do with the local environment.
From your most recent conflict, this may sound rather gory, is there still any bloody knives? If anybody got in close conflict that could give us blood samples?
And do you have any samples from before they turned that I could use for comparison?
There's a moment's silence before the doctor answers. Unfortunately, well, there's not really any wounded or samples of wounds that we have from before this, or rather from since things started. I can provide you medical records from beforehand, but they don't exactly let us take back our dead or wounded either, she says. And as the moment she answers this, there is a low rumbling boom that you can hear in the distance. The compartment that you are in does have some windows, and while before they would have been like back when it was, of course, a spacefaring vehicle, these would have been firmly sealed, vacuum tight, anything of the sort. They have clearly been modified at some point, such that while there may still be they may still be the transparent aluminum that allows for windows of the size that they have to exist on the ship or on spaceships. They have been modified in such a way that they can be slightly opened, so you can you feel maybe the very slight rumble in your deck plates, but it's more something that you hear. And I'd say for Shira and for our new helmsman or pilot here, which are we going with that name officially, Drone? Because it's too perfect not to go with.
It's fantastic. I love it.
Okay. So between Shira and most certainly our newest pilot, one Willie D. Justice. Oh man, I'm going to have so much fun devising something for him image-wise.
He's wearing aviator sunglasses constantly.
Yes. I love it. You recognize that is it is essentially the sound of a sonic boom, something decelerating in atmosphere after coming in quite fast.
Probably another shuttle pod.
Hopefully.
Shira's gonna head outside to take a look.
And sure enough, you do see a second shuttle pod coming down. It arcs very tightly around the valley that you are situated in, allowing itself to use the combination of air braking and its bow thrusters to kill as much momentum as it can before descending far enough to, or before descending close to ground level. Whoever was piloting that put it in a very sort of tight maneuver, and as the pod sets down in close proximity to yours, there's some degree of alert still among the colonists, but they aren't in the ambush positions that they were set when you first landed. The shuttle pod opens and out spills 4 Makos.
Yeah, I went out with Shira as well. So.
Okay, good to see the captain got our message.
There we go.
The lead Mako here, which unless Felix you would like a supporting character here and now, then I will just devise a lead Mako here.
I'll give you
Nah,
name.
go ahead. I have trouble enough keeping one character alive.
Fair enough. Okay. You would recognize Shira. This would be one of the older non-coms in the group, Sergeant Hawkins. I would say he's a man that wears his hair very close, but he is apparently. This might just be the relative distance that he has from command, or some other permission or change in regulations that allows him some degree of eccentricity. He wears a fairly close handlebar, or rather a mutton chop type beard and mustache. It's a unusual, eccentric look for him, but You know that from his service record, he is among one of the more competent Makos that you would have on board. If your ship isn't necessarily the best, at least you know that the ground team is pretty well positioned.
He could almost get into the Andorian Imperial Guard.
Very nearly.
Yeah.
Oh, but you had more time to work with him from scratch.
Hawkins.
Welcome.
LT.
Right, situation here is that the Novians have started attacking the new colonists. We're not sure why. The new colonists are saying that they've gone a bit crazy. So they're a bit short-staffed. It doesn't look like many of the local Mako team has currently survived, although there is one Major Samuel Cole here, who's probably what's left of the Makos.
He gives you a deeply befuddled look. Oh, so... Well, I guess we have other things to do then, he says.
Yeah, you'll be ensuring the security of this colony. The rest of the Starfleet team will be trying to find out exactly why the Novans are attacking.
Not to pile on, LT, but I have additional orders from the captain. The Aegis has been forced to break orbit, trying to draw off a Tandaran squadron that we've conjectured. They were en route to the planet, or hoping.
Tandarans. Okay.
Yeah, we're uncertain exactly as to whether their intentions, although I think it was deemed highly probable that they might be coming back for the Vulcan we brought on board.
The Vulcan, yes, of course, the Vulcan.
Stop getting me in trouble with them.
The
Romanov kind of shakes your head a little bit.
Captain's passed along orders. We are to help you hold Terra Nova within our best capabilities. If there's some sort of plot going on here, then we can definitely help you with. We'll definitely help you determine the situation or what's responsible and defend the colony as best as we can. But for now, we're just to consider the orbital situation to be very non-permissive.
The evacuation is probably not a good idea.
Evacuation is not likely on the table. The colonel decided that they were going to. They're aiming to contact Starfleet and Mako, see if we can get some sort of force together if the Tandarans move to occupy the system. We're going to be on our own for a little while.
Okay. Well, we should be able to at least defend the colony and hopefully neutralize the threat from the Novans while we're here. I'm sure the Colonel will sort out the Tandarans soon enough.
Yep. We have additional supplies here, some weapons, extra food, medical supplies. We can start distributing those right away if you want.
Yeah.
If you believe the colonists are up to that, then I can have my fire team here at least get out the materials and we can begin arranging some sort of patrol or try to integrate with what the locals are doing right now.
Yeah, I think we need to speak with Major Cole about that. As for medical supplies, Dr. Lambeth can take charge of those.
Sure thing.
So yeah, with that, the small team of Makos, you have about 4 of them plus another shuttle pilot who, while daring in the rescue, is perfectly content to.
I imagine it's another Mako.
Oh, in that case, a Mako, one of the Mako pilots that it was trained is also everybody's a Mako. Every Mako is a particle rifleman, and this one just also
Damn
happened to
right.
be a pilot.
Damn right.
So
I don't have room to give them more pilots. I gotta have what I have.
Yep.
Uh,
So the group of them will start pulling out their medical equipment and supplies, other supplies that they have along. And yeah, you were, for a moment, you kind of, that's a question here of what you would like to do next.
Okay, so we're gonna have to assume that the Novans have seen our shuttle pods land. Which I would suggest that they would then probably be interested in why the shuttle pods have landed, what the shuttle pods have brought. In which case, they are probably trying to observe us right now.
I'd agree with that. I agree with that assessment. You think
And if they can see that they brought extra troops and weapons, they might be prepared to start attacking us before we can properly integrate.
Well, then we should be ready. Hawkins is going to set up patrols, so we've got some Makos out there. I could look at their defenses to make those better, but that's going to take time. Okay, well then let's make for defense then.
I can talk with the local science groups and try to better understand this culture.
Yeah, Doctor and Ensign, if you want to talk with the locals, just find out anything you can about why the Novans might have turned. Maybe they just all ate a strange berry or something.
So, I have a question. When does the captain expect to come back with reinforcements?
When she gets here.
They'll be back as soon as they get a couple of extra ships, which I'm sure won't be long.
Right. Okay. Sure.
You're fine, Ensign. Just you tag along with Dr. Lambeth and see what you can find out. And if the Novans decide to attack, we'll see if we can stun ourselves a couple of prisoners.
Let's let the governor's men know that if they get a prisoner, try to keep it. But I think it would be better for our teams to take one.
It might also be best once we have defenses set up to scout out and get a better understanding of how their culture works.
Yeah.
They have been ambushing, and they probably understand the terrain better than us. So if we send anyone out there, there's a very good chance that they get attacked.
But we're going to increase our patrols on the edges of our territory, so we'll get some understanding. And who knows, we might even capture one alive. But they're not going to like that. They've been taking their bodies. So we need to know they're going to give us a hell fight for that body.
It's the comments about guerrilla tactics and even the preservation of their own bodies suggest already that it's likely not purely some sort of drug-induced haze or anything of that nature.
There's so many
it shows high functioning thought processes, even self-preservation or value amongst their tribe.
I can always talk to any prisoners we take too. If it's not any drugs or plants or weird parasite creatures making them go all aggressive, then it might just be they're being coaxed by another force on this planet that we don't know about. So talking to them might be a good idea.
Exactly. We're not making any assumptions, Gwen. We're just trying to get one of them to rule that out, if possible.
Sure.
And there are ways out there in the void to manipulate people and preserve high functioning capacity. But
Of
we
course.
we don't know if anything like that is at play. We can't assume anything. But I personally like the idea of capturing one and eliminating any possible medical interference or elements. Because if that's the case, we might be able to address it here on the ground and diffuse the situation. If it isn't, at least we can talk to one. Maybe we can open up a line of.
She nods.
I can dream, Gwen. I can dream.
I'd go to beer back. I heard a scream from the garage, so I'm gonna check on people.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay, so sounds like there are ideas for things you want to do. So are there particular scenes or things that ways that you would want to break off with the group here?
Hey, and I need to ask a question. As I mentioned, I had a crazy week at work. Is Eula in command on this one, or am I in command? I forgot who got.
So it's been an interesting little quirk since you've been returned to service. Nominally,
Eula's on, right?
I mean, nominally, you should be in command in certain circumstances. You are the highest ranking officer here. However, you're not entirely clear on what decision or what orders either Starfleet or Mako have relayed, and how things are working with the joint service and what Sharp has been told. But generally speaking, outside of engineering, you haven't been given priority or preference on command level
Well, that's
decisions.
fine. She's been handling it as if Eula was in charge, and she would handle it that way either way because Eula has more squad experience than she does and overall security experience. So, she's kind of acting as Eula's number one is the way I've been playing it. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Plus,
And
Starfleet still has issues because, well, alien artifacts tampered with my brain.
yes, you are correct in how you are thinking to conduct yourself in this case.
Okay, I just wanted to double check.
I'm back.
Okay.
Plus, she considers Eula a very good friend, and she's been in enough situations with her that she absolutely trusts her.
Yes. That Andorian ale was quite nice earlier.
Oh yeah, that was the highlight of my day.
Mm.
I have a hunch it's going to be the highlight of my week. So, okay, well, I'll look over at Eula. From an engineering point of view, I don't know that we can. Do you want me to try to start the process of reinforcing their defenses now, or do you want me on the front line backing up the Mako teams that may potentially make a capture on one of their people?
I think we work on their defenses, see what you can reinforce. See if they've got any power issues or stuff like that.
I think it's a wise application. So, okay. I'll take care of that, and if the crap hits the spinning blades, you can always send me somewhere else.
Not sure there's a whole lot of other else to send you.
Okay.
Not a big colony.
Yeah, I'll meet with the governor and I'll ask him to introduce me to his combat engineering teams, and I'll begin backing them up immediately.
Yeah, and I need to go have a chat with Major Cole.
Okay.
Okay, so sounds like there would at least be a scene between Cole and Shira there. For the rest of you, Romanov, Lambeth, Lambeth being paired with Stewart in this case, and if Drone, you want to get a feel for what you think of Mr. Justice, who's rank we have yet to assign, but oh boy, I don't know.
I feel like he's a crewman.
Yeah, Petty Officer Justice. Anyway,
Chief Justice.
yeah. Oh no,
Chief Petty Officer. Yes,
that's
Chief
too.
Justice.
That's too good not to have.
The sun glints off his sunglasses.
No matter where he is, or if there even is sun, it always glints off his sunglasses.
I'm away from keyboard for a few minutes.
Sure thing. Have we stumbled into the first truly mimetic character in this game?
The ensign will just stare at the crewman. Can you see in that inside?
I don't need to see, crewman. I need to know.
Anyway, but let's see. Aside from Shira, who would like scenes as far as to interact with any of the characters here, or ask further questions, all that?
If I'm sorry, my name.
I guess
If Ben wants, we can go to Dr. Keene and try to understand what the fuck's going on with the people. Ben, my friend.
Oh, sorry. Repeat that.
If you're up for it, we can go to Dr. Keene and ask what's going on with the natives.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so one scene there, and Brian's away from keyboard for a moment.
How's it going with freaking Patel and the running away? The chase.
Oh, we'll circle back to everyone else in a moment here, but I wanted to make sure that
No worries.
I want to make sure we give due time to people in the colony here.
Yep.
But let's see. What was I going to say next? Well, let's do just a. Actually, let's go ahead and we'll kind of go in that order for scenes right now. So Shira, I will give you the first opportunity here. You can go converse with Major Cole.
Okay.
The Major, who is at an alert carry and just seems to be wearing a perpetual, not exactly a frown, but the precursors to that on his face. It could just as easily pivot to a scowl, as he overlooks the situation with the scattering of colonists that he has. They're spaced still kind of around their defenses, weapons at the ready. He's also paying some mind to the 2 shuttlecraft that you have.
He has everything ready for a scowl in case he needs it.
Yes.
I can't remember where this is from. It's from a book, and I can't remember which one.
Oh, if one had any amount of coins for every time that happened, then I'm sure somebody would have quite a decent sack of chump change. But anyway, so he's looking over. I'll say to you, well, Lieutenant, looks like you've brought us decent air support. Now, if your vessel has weapons too, then we could always just try to saturate their likely locations with some sort of orbital fire. Use the air cover to support what's left, and pick the rest off once they scatter.
Well, unfortunately, it's not going to be that straightforward. The Aegis has been forced to move off. Apparently, there's a squadron of Tandaran ships lurking around somewhere in the outer reaches of the system.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Yeah, I mean that's what I thought. Only I put it ruder than that. So mostly on our own until such time Starfleet gets another ship over here. I'm sure one will be along soon enough. But until that time, I'll put our Makos and myself at your disposal, since you know how to defend this colony better than, we do.
Cole just seems to like stop and look off into space for a bit. We need to hold off the Novans. We need to defend the people against the Tandarans.
Well, we don't know why the Tandarans are here. The Tandarans, it's entirely possible that they're more interested in a Vulcan we picked up a couple of days ago.
What would they want with Vulcans?
I don't know. They thought he was a Sulabont or something. It sounded like an excuse just to have a nosy through his ship, which I mean, Vulcans are bound to be hiding something, but it's the Tandarans have come a long way for that. But so I don't think their focus is on the colony. I don't think we should be fine.
The Major just kind of pauses for a little bit and says, "Okay, well, I only want to deal with one threat at a time if possible, so if the Tandarans aren't here just yet, then perhaps our best expenditure of resources would be to try to do what we can, take out the Novans while we've still got the chance, and then go on from there. If the Tandarans try to take the colony by force, then, well, once we beat back the Novans, we might even be able to scatter some of our people out into some of the hills and have them be a little more safe. The same tactics that are working for them, making it difficult for us to track, that'd be, it'd probably be usable for us too, if it came to it."
Just checking with you, GM. The shuttle pods have no weapons whatsoever, do they?
The shuttle pods have what in orbit, or like what for space combat would be considered light plasma cannons. I think their range is somewhere in the neighborhood of like maybe 2,000 kilometers. It might actually be a bit longer. It for a ground target, it is plenty. Like if they were doing a strafing run.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Right. So our shuttle pods, I think, should be quite useful anyway, even without any support from the Aegis. I don't, unless of course your colony came equipped with surface-to-air missile systems, which the Novans then stole.
There wasn't anything that nothing that I knew about in the in our inventory like that.
If you didn't know about it, Major, then I doubt it was there. So it's good. Those shuttle pods could provide some useful strafing runs.
Yeah.
Although I think our doc and science officer would like some taken alive just to do some tests.
He nods in agreement. He does seem to pause for a bit, like he kind of grimaces a little bit at some of the words. It's very slight, but nonetheless, he seems to be knocking himself for some reason or another. It's like, well, now that we got your Makos here, we can plan for our first assault here. See what we can do to take on the Novans and drive them out, and put together some sort of trap or plan of attack.
Yeah, I would guess that they've seen our shuttle pods arrive and are probably observing.
That's right. I don't suppose you could. I don't suppose they have local their sensors are still operational here. We could just take a quick scan of the area, and so long as they're not too deep in the hills, then we should be able to get a readout.
That would be useful as an early warning system, and those shuttles could be up for some time without needing to land.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. One thing before we get to any of the fighting, do you mind if I run some tests on you, see if you're all doing fine and normally? Just get some baselines and things like that.
The Major looks to you, Doc, as you pass by. He's like, Doc, I'm completely solid here. I'm a little tired, but I can assure you I'm in perfectly good shape here. And frankly, I don't have the time for it. You want medical records, you can go to Dr. Keene.
Alright, thanks. I'll have a look at those.
I'm sure there's other people in the colony who'd be happy to volunteer.
Yeah, if you can find me someone with some free time, I'd appreciate that.
The Major's just gonna say, you can look. I don't think you're gonna find it. Free time doesn't exist when you're under siege.
Well, it might be worth. I mean, I don't want to be insulting or anything like that, but I'd really appreciate this, and I think let's just say I think this is going to be worthwhile, and there's benefits to be had that might be worth taking someone off guard duty for half an hour or something like that. I think it's worth the cost.
The Major kind of he meets your look with a bit of a glare, and maybe just very slightly puffs up a little bit. And that is to say, he almost kind of squares off. Very sort of basic, basic projection of like alpha male type behavior. Undoubtedly, the sort of thing that you'd see from somebody about to bluster as far back as your days on Vega. But I'll think better of it. You find a volunteer, then just make sure they're not actually on watch. Otherwise, knock yourself out there, if they let you.
Fair enough, thank you.
LT, can I speak to you in private? There's something that I ran across.
Okay, yeah, sure thing, Stuart.
She will act like she is scanning some plants, GM, but then we'll just whisper over to Shira. I don't think listening to Cole's a good idea, sir. He seems like to stare and like distantly. I think he wants more violence than fixing anything. He wants them to hurt as much as he does, or something. I just remember my great uncle having that stare. He was in the war, and yeah, it's just not the kind of look you want anywhere close to the battlefield. But I don't know the battlefield, so that's more of your thing, LT. But
yeah, I'm aware that Starfleet probably wouldn't appreciate it if we started shooting Earth citizens, which the Novans are. So
it'd be too much of a repeat of our own mistakes, if any case.
We'll have weapons set to stun
Better make
Anyway,
sure.
we need to take people to scan.
Better make sure that you don't let Cole know. She says, looking like glance over at Cole. I think you'll counter fix that.
And I'd suggest you and Dr. Lambert find out if there's anything biological going on here very quickly. Because if they do try to attack us, we will have to defend ourselves. And if we're shooting a stun, hopefully no one gets hurt. But stuns do hurt. Believe me.
She nods. The doctor can probably handle more. I can help out with botany and some of the fauna and flora, but if we really need to figure out, we need to talk to them without them shooting or us shooting them. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But I don't know combat, and we're under siege, so I understand the stress of the situation. But if you want to figure something out, we need to talk to them. An even ground or something.
Yeah.
Maybe we can offer a momentary truce of some sort.
Do have a very foolish idea, which is Foreman.
Okay.
Do you want a scene or two to think about that, or continue chatting with your junior officer on the?
I'd like to think about it a little bit more for now.
Okay.
It's a plan. It seems very stupid, but might work. We'll see. I need to think on it.
I just want to warn you.
Those are the best kinds of plans.
Yeah, they are.
With the warning borne in mind from your junior officer and the major, certainly a bit of an unknown quantity, a possible plan of action begins to take shape in your mind, Lieutenant Shira. As that continues, the doctor has since moved on. I guess either heading to look for a volunteer, or if nothing else, to go speak with Dr. Keene.
I'll start by speaking with Dr. Keene and getting some.
Okay. So you find your way into one of the other buildings. You find that outside of the sort of defensive setup that some of the colonists have taken, that most people seem to be staying inside their buildings. Dr. Keene appears to have taken to that. She seems like just knee deep in work with different sort of pads, probably a few bits of she might even have a few bits of concrete, like older sort of materials like notepads and paper that are out. Just kind of, her desk is an absolute mess. There are various setups for one could imagine full chemistry sets set up around, and like various monitors showing different types of things. Just to give you an idea of the small building that you were walking into, it's a very sparse setup compared to what you think one would like, but it's probably about as much as this colony can manage. So it's obviously a fair size setup. She looks at you as you enter. Dr. Lambeth.
All right. I'm just here to have a look at your medical records, see what I can do to help with this whole Novum situation.
Certainly, I'm not primarily a medical doctor, but I do have some side training here, and I did at least have access to everyone's biological data, she says. So, uh, sifting through a few pads and picking the third one down, this has all the data that you would want.
All right, thank you. And he'll take a look at it. What's on the ad?
Okay. If you're looking for anything in particular, I can give you an insight and medicine task. Otherwise, I could probably relay most of this just as a passive examination.
Hmm. I think
Or
for
if
the
you'd
most part, it's kind of just passive examining things.
okay.
But I guess what I'm trying to figure out, like, just looking at records, getting an idea of what things were like previously, if there's been any change recently, like obviously changes between like past records and current records for anyone, like Novan or not.
Yep.
Just and seeing, and also out of curiosity, kind of looking to see if there's any obvious, like, he's after his conversation with the in
With the
charge
major.
person, with the
Yeah.
major. He's a little bit suspicious, and the specific mention of everything you need will be on this particular pad has also made him a little suspicious. So he's just going to look and see if there's any like obvious glaring things that are missing from this pad that you'd expect to be a part of normal data.
Okay, let's call this insight and medicine, and I'm going to ask. I'll have you roll a task for it, but I'm only going to set the difficulty to 1.
Yep.
And for those in our audience who are new to the Star Trek Adventures game, allow me to say that the way that rolls work in Star Trek Adventures, you are always aiming for a target number, which is the sum of the sum of an attribute and a discipline. Attributes cover different sort of more softer qualities, if you will. One's insight, reason, or ability to think something through, presence, or how they exude themselves, control, daring, things like that. Disciplines are more the conventional science, medicine, security, anything that would be relevant for a division on a starship. The goal is always to hit the target number, which is the sum of those two, or below. So low rolls are good, high rolls are bad, is the simple way. Just in case you didn't hear me there, Ben, that was an insight and medicine for that roll. Okay, so he had to score, since it was a difficulty of 1, he needed to score 1 success in order to pass. He has scored 2 successes there. And with that, that does earn a bonus success, which gets converted into momentum, the helpful little tokens that allow you to buy additional dice, buy advantages, increase difficulty or complication for opposed tasks, and so many other things. It's a very versatile item to have around. But anyway, so Dr. Lambeth, you look over the biomedical data that Dr. Keene has assembled for you. The last of these were the data seems relatively up to date, or at least it was the last of the records that you would see indicate they were from a time just before things started going down at the colony, and it seems they stretch back to most of it starts around November. Some of it cuts back even a little further, particularly for the Novans. Starfleet seems to have had a small team on the planet back sometime in the past year. The basics seem to show that there's kind of a wide array of a wide array of health conditions within the colony, um, as would be expected. There are some colonists who maybe develop the occasional fevers. There are the Novans themselves who have been recovering from prolonged radiation exposure and some levels of malnutrition, mostly heavy vitamin D deficiency. They were mostly cave dwellers for a time. Um, there are a few other sort of isolated cases, both of colonists who have been off, who maybe just developed something that was chronic, or otherwise maybe had the odd severe injury. On the whole, I would say it's a list that you would expect to match up more or less with, your average colony just starting out, going through some growing pains, or in this case, a colony that's resetting in some ways. I'd say as a general principle, the average seemed to be in good health, or there weren't, outside of the issues that the Novans are recovering from, there aren't any identifiable patterns or anything of interest past that point.
No,
in
no
ter-
particular strains of diseases going through them or anything like that.
I'm sorry, could you say that again? I couldn't quite hear you, Ben.
No particular, there's not a strain of disease that's been particularly prominent. It's just kind of been low-level accidents and
Yeah, like there might be a cold or flu strain that came with the colonists and has afflicted them, something that hasn't quite been cured yet, but you think medical science would probably fix in the next few years at the rate it's going. Something pretty minor, basically. In terms of dietary information, the colonists are working with it seemed like relatively stable, grains and vegetable products. A lot of it is still rationed material. That is to say, they haven't really broken into much of a harvest setup. They're still trying to make the colony more self-sufficient, but haven't quite got to the point of they haven't started truly farming the local area as much. They're only just now getting things set up for now. They do have a hydroponic garden, which is very carefully monitored for some supplemental fruits and vegetables, but there's been no readout to suggest anything odd there. All in all, basically, there's a very little bit of carefully monitored local food, a lot of it with heavy advice from the Novans on what's edible and what isn't. But otherwise, dietary-wise, nothing unusual there. Nothing in particular with a disease. No strange recorded plant exposures. Anything unusual there. It's just the information that you've been given shows you a lot of. It tells you a lot of what it doesn't seem to be, basically.
Okay. So in summary, not a disease coming through recently. Is there a so not a disease, not some food issue. Is what I can conclude from that.
Basically, so far as you know, from that point a few weeks ago when everything seemed to have gone so terribly wrong, there doesn't seem to have been a biological or chemical trigger that you could identify.
Okay. And there wasn't an unusually long sort of how long before that incident was the last Novan record? And is it unusually long, or is it standard?
The last record that ties to an examination of the Novan, from what a former, a medical officer on the colony that you realized you haven't met. It seems like the last Novan was in for a standard examination the day before everything went to shit.
Yeah. And got a standard examination, and it all came up standard.
Oh yeah,
Or
everything
scheduled
looked just
for one.
fine.
And I'm guessing this doctor probably isn't still around. I might as well have a quick look and
Yep.
just
You
I've got a database on the colony, see if he's still alive.
yeah, the colony's the medical officer was recorded as one of the casualties on the first day.
And actually, that's just something else to check, because this person was just a scientist running this. Are all the medical staff dead, or they, like, if I can go through the logs and check medical staff?
Yeah, as you're looking through the colony records, Dr. Keene says, yeah, I wish there were another doctor left myself. Or rather, someone who is properly medically trained. I'm much more comfortable with botany, hydrology, tectonics, or geology, things of the nature. I'd much prefer that I weren't doing this and that we weren't here this way, but
Yeah, to be honest, it would be much nicer if I wasn't needing to be here either. But you kind of, when you got the know-how, you kind of got to do what you got to do, right?
on that point you are correct. She rubs her forehead, just kind of staring over some of the work she has without engaging with it.
I mean, just obviously I've been trying to figure this stuff out myself, looking at records. But you got any insight? Do you think what's going on with the Novans, or anything else sketchy has been going on with the colony recently?
She pauses for a moment. I honestly could not tell you, Doctor. One day the Novans were our neighbors, and the next, this. If they have their reasons, then I'm not privy to them.
Yeah, and you haven't got a hunch or anything like that? And I guess not, it's one of those things that's just strange. Got no clue.
If I did, then maybe we'd have worked out a solution by now. Unfortunately, the only resource we really have at this point to address them is... She looks a little rueful as she says this. It falls more in Major Cole's department.
Think he's got more of an idea on what's going on then?
I don't know that he has an idea. However, he only knows how to deal with them.
She means through violence. There's only violence is the answer, it seems.
Yep. At some point,
Says
Stewart. Yep, Stewart has walked in here.
I'm sorry, I'm late. Nice to meet you. I'm Ensign Stewart. She smiles.
She nods and in your direction. So, welcome aboard.
So, what was their culture like before this? Would they show any development changes over the last year or two, or?
So far as these records show, they've been perfectly amenable to adapting to the to a standard human culture. I mean, redeveloping. They were redeveloping their trust, of course, but there's nothing that would have suggested anything out of the ordinary. I mean, they cared deeply for their family units, and
I would think that a war in any sort of capacity, to some extent, goes against that. Though she says, looking over the tablets and notebooks, can I roll an anthropology to see like any of the first signs of just a slightest change or culture, like just a bump or a small little pulse in terms of like behavioral change?
I will allow you to roll an insight and science roll, once again with a difficulty of 1.
Nice. This is overall my second activation of Steward. So
Well,
I'm gonna
she's been activated once in the adventure.
in the adventure. Yeah, nope. True enough. Okay. So reason and science, right?
Yes. Or no, I think we said insight, actually.
Oh, insight. Yep. Insight and science, and I have xenoanthropology.
That would definitely apply.
I'm going to take 1 die, or 1 momentum, rather. If people are fine with that. And boop.
Okay, so that is a critical failure. Along with a set of failures, you scored no successes, not 1, and with that 0 there as well.
Oh God.
So let's see. Yeah, with that 20 there,
So
would
19,
you like
20, and then a 15? Okay.
Yep, pretty bad.
Yep.
Would you
in line?
Would you prefer to buy off that complication with 2 momentum? Would you prefer to give the GM threat, or would you prefer to accept a narrative complication?
Narrative.
Shut up, Felix.
Why?
What
Just
does
want to
the rest of the
experiment.
group think?
Felix just wants to make things more interesting.
Yeah, go with narrative.
Yeah, narrative, definitely.
Sure, narrative then.
I'm just an agent of chaos because last campaign I was so calm and collected.
Right.
Shut up, Greg.
Why do I not believe that? And I've only played with you once.
Time to shake that. Time to shake things up a little bit. And as you're trying to tease out some difference here, some sort of change, the records don't seem to give you that much that you could. They don't give you that much in terms of what you are hoping to look for, and as you're trying to, you feel like you might be on the verge of spotting something when another boom. Oh no.
Boom for them.
The dice taketh and the dice giveth.
Another loud boom strikes out from the the distance. This is not coming in from the atmosphere. Well, at least initially not. It sounds like there's first one single rumble and then a second one much closer, and from the from the door that you realize you have left open, you can hear cries of alert and that people running outside in a bit of a commotion. I have elected to take a narrative complication, and I have already made a determination as to what that was for the opposing force here.
Cool. Well, we'll see what the frick explosion was.
Yep. Back outside, with mere meters away from Chief Justice.
Yes.
I'm always going to say that with a grin. There is now there's a small crater where something very small went off. Thankfully, you were on the other side of the shuttle pod when this happened, but you do see that there are a few dings from what appear to be metallic shrapnel, and a few colonists and one of the Makos rush over to check the area. Oh, damn it! They have some sort of chemical explosive projectile. Oh, this isn't any good.
How badly damaged does the shuttle look?
It looks like the paint got chipped.
Chief Justice is very upset about this. He takes the sleeve of his uniform and starts like trying to buff out one of the chips.
No one does this to my baby.
he spits on the hull to try to like spit shine it off.
Yep.
Does it have like a decal on the side? It's like an eagle flying through an explosion.
It does now.
He's gonna have to paint over the marks with that. He's already designing it in his head.
He's gonna whip out the airbrush when he gets back to the ship.
Yep. But yeah, Shira, you arrive on site and see, sure enough, there's something there. One of the Makos on patrol reports out. LT, looks like we got some. There might have been some sort of mortar position set up a little ways off. It has some cloud cover. I think that it might have malfunctioned on whoever was involved with it, though.
Okay. They've got our shuttle pods in range of that. I don't like that. I think we need to get the shuttle pods off the ground. I don't know how powerful these mortar tubes are, but I don't like the fact that they could take out our only way off this planet. So if Chief Justice and it's a Mako pilot which did the other one, right?
Yep.
If you could get the shuttle pods just airborne and just run some scans, and if you spot anything happening out there, movements of the locals, let us know. If you see them setting up another mortar tube, let us know. Because I think that'll be more dangerous to personnel than it should be to the shuttle pods, but I don't want to risk the pods.
Copy that, Lieutenant. Sunshine glimmers off the sunglasses. We'll be your eyes in the sky. Don't worry about it.
I just imagine he's also got like a toothpick.
Oh yeah.
Always.
No, he's taken like a strand of like wheat or something.
Ah, right, yeah.
Like he's got the
got to have
big
something
lane.
in his between his teeth.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You know that's a cousin of the poison ivy, right?
His teeth are perfect too, by the way.
And Ensign, this is Chief Justice. He knows what he's doing.
I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, Chief Justice hops back into. Sorry, he hops back into the shuttle pod and begins takeoff.
Nope. So the two shuttle pods soon take to the air. It takes them a few minutes to get the engines going back up again. Cole, meanwhile, as this is going on, he looks to the bunch of you and says, "No, if you're able to get them to the sky, we might be able to fix the Novans before they can get back to their place. If not, take them out outright, blast them, and force them to hold their positions. Then we take them out the rest of the way with our whatever ground force we can scrounge up."
We have much of a ground force, and it could also be just a way of luring us out into an ambush.
Yeah.
If they have mortars, then They might have other chemical
What?
protection.
Hold on. Just these people, right, were living in caves. Yeah,
You know,
they were living in caves up until like a couple years ago, and all of a sudden they got guerrilla tactics and a homemade mortar tube. There's no way the colony had a mortar tube, right, Major?
I don't recall seeing any mortar tubes in the inventory, no.
How in the ice pits have they managed to figure out how to operate a mortar tube? I mean, not very successfully, but they got one, and we have to assume that they'll probably build more of them. How have they learned how to do that in like 2 years?
it doesn't require too much for most weapon technology and discovery, sir. It's the Zulus, the Native Americans.
They had to build one from scratch.
She just gives a shrug. I don't know.
Immediately following that, there is another boom out from the distance, and an explosion that lands a bit further out of the a bit further out from the center of the colony, but there are a few cries out immediately after that.
I do think we need to take cover, though. She says, just hurries and find cover.
I'll go towards the screams.
Yep. As you arrive out in that area, by the time you round a corner, you see that there are a few colonists. One is already sort of moving to tie off what appears to be some sort of injury. One of them is sustained, and they are both making ready to lift them up. We've got this one here. You're,
Where's Dr. Lambeth?
probably still back at the shelter, but they, like, the colonists are immediately going to start moving them into another structure, and as they do that, Shira, you get a chirp from your comm badge, or the communicator rather. Both shuttles are probably ready to go at this point. Or they're ready to take to the air.
Yeah. Okay. Shuttle pods, get up off the ground. Start scouting the area. Maintain some altitude, though. If you come under fire, just go higher.
Yeah, it rhymes. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yep. I imagine Chief Justice lives for that. Orders that rhyme.
It's somewhere in his little cockpit. He just smirks.
Yeah. So, while we're doing that, I'll ask just for one quick roll from, let's say, actually there's now a Chief Justice supporting character sheet. So if you want to do something, I'll give the Shuttle Pod a roll for you for what little it has.
Probably control con, right?
You're going to be an awesome pilot, right?
He's got the name going for him. We'll say that.
You know, if you give him the multitasking talent, then he could technically use con for instead of anything else, or instead of other disciplines, and that would be since he is being activated for the first time, you could give him that.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, so you take the multitasking talent. It will be reason and con then.
His reason is not very good, but okay.
Hey. Chief Justice didn't say he was the... Nobody said Chief Justice necessarily thought firmly about everything. Sometimes you just gotta go. There's the right way, the wrong way, and the Chief Justice way. Or the Willie D. Justice way.
Guitar riff.
Yes.
CSI Miami Scream.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you do, with the assist from the shuttle pod, you do get 2 successes there. Your pod can indeed confirm there are maybe now a half dozen life signs near a couple positions at like several kilometers away. They appear to, by the time you take the scan, they actually appear to be on a steady move towards a forested area. There's vague sense of some sort of biological matter suggesting that there might have been a casualty from the last incident, and they are on retreat rather. The life signs do all read as human, which would make sense given that the Novans are just they've essentially been a slight generational offshoot, or they've only been out of contact for like 70 years. So
Okay. Yeah, Chief Justice is relaying that information back down to Shira.
Okay, we have a good idea where they might be.
the Mako pilot calls up. We've got their location. LT, permission to engage?
Are they pulling back?
It does look like it, but we might be able to cut them off and at least take out the mortars, if not incapacitate that team here.
I mean, out of character, this is purely out of character, but incapacitated, they can stun them, sure.
Well,
That
they're
makes
not
sense.
stunning
Not
with...
not the shuttle pod.
No, the shuttle pod, no. But mortars will also be a threat too. But we also don't know how many mortars they have either.
Keep an eye on them. It's more important we find out where they're going.
Roger that. As this is amidst the amidst the chaos of the colony trying to reassert itself, or like try to secure itself, Major Cole, you can see, is running forward with a group of armed colonists who have all manner of weapons, some sidearms. Have you been able to figure out their position, Lieutenant?
They're pulling back. I'm having our shuttle pods trace where they're going.
Well, so long as they can keep an eye on them, we can... I think that this is probably going to be the best time to go after them if we can trace them back to their main base. Ready your Makos and leave a couple of them behind just to keep the colony secure. I'll have some security here, but otherwise, I want to take who we can and put an end to this.
How many Novans are there?
I don't know how many are left, but when they first came here, or like when we all came here, I think the colony roster said there's just under 100 of them.
And how many new colonists were there?
Close to 200. Of course, not as many left now, after what they've done. Look, Lieutenant,
I think you're right. I think it's a good time to go track them, especially with eyes in the sky. But I don't think it's a good place, no offense for your civilian militia here, for a civilian militia. They're good at defending, they're not good at offensive operations.
Fine. You want to just bring along? You just want to bring along your Makos? Then that'll do.
They're
So
a
long.
professional team. They'll do a good job. So yeah.
I'll defer to your judgment on that, Lieutenant. But rest assured, we're putting an end to this one way or the other. And the Novans have pretty much picked the way they want to go. He says, readying his rifle and starting to move forward.
Lieutenant Shearer to Ensign Steward.
Almost up on my cat. Stewart here.
You know how I said that you'll be safe if you stay inside the colony and you'll be fine that way?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're coming out the colony with us.
With to be frank, sir, I'm, as you know, I'm not combat rated.
You're an anthropologist?
I am, sir.
You understand studying other cultures and that?
I'm not ready for a rendition of Vietnam, sir.
I have no idea what that is.
Right. Yes,
Is
sir.
it a song?
No, sir. I will explain to you on the way.
Yeah.
It features a lot of songs, especially Bruce Springsteen. might be one of those Earth novels that you hear so much about. One of the films.
But yeah, she'll come along.
Okay, and I think that let's see. I guess just to check in, does everybody? We'll let
Romanov would like to go with that mission. And could I make a roll to reinforce the local defenses?
I think that since we're doing okay on momentum, I think we'll leave that aside for now, and just let you kind of run with things there. But we'll say that you have done what you could to sturdy things up from most other attacks. Lambeth, are you staying behind, or do you want to try and go out with them?
Happy to take the Starfleet team. So if you want to come along.
Ben?
So,
It's quite all right. It's possible that the major is going with the lieutenant, and they're going to try and chase down the Novan raiders.
yeah, if we're chasing down the Novans, Lambert should probably be there so he can get some scans.
Gotcha.
As soon as possible.
Gotcha. So, incidentally, where would you say? Sorry, I've probably missed something in the Discord here. Oh God, yes.
I'm quite proud of myself for that.
That's awesome. I stole that by the
that is his portrait from here on out. That's just happening. Anyway, let's see. Lambeth, you make ready to head out. Just real quick before, like during the little bit of combat that was going on, what were you trying to do, or were you aiming to do anything in particular?
Who? Me?
Yes, you.
Yeah. I think he was, while combat was breaking out, kind of keeping an ear open to see if anyone was wounded, but other than that, doing the research.
Well, I will say there were sounds of one bit, like a second mortar shell that landed, and possibly that of some sort of injury. You haven't heard anything on any colony-wide line, but yeah, once like after that second shot, there's a bit of silence before, or relative quiet, that eventually sets the colony to, or like keeps everybody on their toes basically, but it doesn't seem like you're immediately under attack at the moment.
Yeah,
So
then he'll just
okay, so you head on out, and I guess Shira, would you have just signaled the doctor to come your way, or?
Yeah, I would have messaged him and told him of the situation.
Okay, so Doc, do you aim to do anything on your way back, or heading otherwise just going to rendezvous with Shira?
Yeah, it's probably reasonably urgent. I don't really have time to go try and grab someone and give them a quick scan.
Okay. So you make your way past. You do walk through an area slightly further out from the colony, where it seems like there was a second mortar strike. It'd be like a small sort of field area between a few of the prefabbed buildings. There are definitely signs of shrapnel that had hit the area, signs of a blast wave, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I
And
think actually he'll pause there and do a little bit of quick investigating, call out to see if anyone needs help. Just take a quick peek around.
okay, give me a reason and medicine roll. And say difficulty. I'm going to set this to 3.
Okay. I guess, does emergency medicine help?
Not if you're not administering it to
not
anyone
yet.
here.
Okay. Right, reason and medicine. Alright, I will want some momentum. I will want to spend some momentum for extra dice if I'm going to try and get 3 successes. Or just go with 2 and hope. Yeah. So I've got a sum total of, again, reason and medicine, right? That'll be
Yep.
That's 13 for me.
Yep.
So I guess if I spend all of our momentum, I'm fairly likely to succeed. Maybe.
That's a distinct possibility. The 3 momentum will buy you 2 additional dice.
Yeah, which would get me up to 4 dice, needing 13s.
Yep.
So it should be good. But
just to make things interesting, though.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say I will be spending a point of threat in order to increase your complication range up to 2.
Okay, alright. Yeah, is everyone good with me spending all of our momentum?
Sure, we're at the end of the game.
Yeah, go for it.
Right. Let's go then.
3 successes. Yep, so that is enough to succeed. And with that, yeah, you start analyzing anything in the area with your medical scanner. Obviously, there are no individuals in this area. If somebody was wounded here, they would take they clearly would have been. They've already been moved. You do find some signs, actually, of some genetic material. It looks like that somebody may have taken a hit, and there's a bit of shrapnel that has a tiny bit of like blood on it, essentially. Your your medical scanner starts processing the readings right away, suggesting, obviously somebody may have been injured. The scanner is giving you the readings on it. It's spitting out error messages, however, and you aren't entirely certain why.
Yeah, we did have a nice code like 404 that tells us exactly what the error is.
Yep.
It's just very confused.
Yes, it's attempting to discern the exact nature of it, but it is taking some time to process. And as you consider saying, as you try to investigate further with it, one of the Makos from the team will say, Sergeant Hawkins says, "Ah, Doc, there you are. We're getting ready to move up here."
All right. Something weird's going on here with this shrapnel. I'll just give me a sec, and he'll just kind of quickly grab it, stick it in an evidence bag or something like that.
Yep.
Maybe root around for any. If there's a couple of other pieces nearby that look similar, he'll grab those as well, and then he'll head off and leave his tricorder to keep doing its thing, keep
Yep.
trying to process the data.
And the two of you run off to meet with the away team and move to intercept the Novans. And we'll see how that goes and what else happens both on the planet and in orbit next time on the next episode of Star Trek Adventures Aegis. So for those that came in, thank you for dropping by. This is where we will cut the recording for now.